there, I'm Bruno Barbieri, and if you have always wanted to learn how to play Magic the Gathering, this video is for you. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know to start playing step by step with clear examples and no stress. Here's what you will learn in this video. Number 1, the layout of the cards. Number 2, how mana works and where it comes from. Number 3, how to cast a spell. Number 4, the difference between permanents and non-permanents. Number 5, how the battlefield works. Number 6, the turn phase from start to finish. Number 7, the combat steps and how creatures fight. Number 8, all the ways you can win or lose a game. Number 9, some of the most common mechanics you will see in action. And finally, number 10, tips and reminders that every player should know. If this sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram because I post different content there to help you get even better at Magic. You can find me on both YouTube and Instagram at mtg_barbieri. Let's get started. Let's learn how to read a Magic the Gathering card. Every Magic card has some basic parts. At the top, we have the card name. Each symbol shows how much mana you need to play this card. For example, this means you need 2 mana of any color and 1 white mana. But don't worry because I will explain every little thing you need to know about this in the next slide. So let's keep going. In the middle, you see the artwork. This part makes the card beautiful, but the art has no effect on how the card works. So 2 cards with different art but the same name do the exact same thing. The only thing that can change with the art is the price of the card. Below the art, we have the type line. It shows if the card is a creature, a battle, a planeswalker, or another type. To the right of the type line, we see the set symbol and rarity. The color of the symbol shows how rare the card is. Then we have the text box. This part explains what the card does. Some cards also have flavor text, which is just a story or a quote. Flavor text is usually in italics and has no effect in the game. Now let's take a look on specific information that we can find in these 3 card types. A creature card has power and toughness in the bottom right corner. Power is how much damage it deals. On the other hand, toughness is how much damage it can take before it dies. But don't worry, I will explain how combat works in another slide. Now let's talk about the battle type card. A battle has a defense value in the bottom right corner like toughness, but to destroy it, you need to attack it. Battles are special, it's the only card you play that enters the opponent's battlefield, so you can attack it during your combat step. And each battle has instructions on what happens when it's defeated. Now let's talk about the Planeswalker type card. A Planeswalker has loyalty points in the bottom right corner. It also has abilities with plus or minus numbers, and you can use only one ability each turn. The number tells you how many loyalty points to add or remove. And remember that your opponent can attack your Planeswalker during combat. When it takes damage, it loses that many loyalty counters, and if it reaches 0 or less, the Planeswalker is destroyed. It's like a life total, but only works for this kind of card. And finally, at the very bottom of all cards, we see small details like the collector number, artist name, and copyright info. Well, now you know the basic of reading Magic cards. Now let's talk about mana, one of the most important parts of Magic. You need mana to play almost every card in the game. Each card has a mana cost in the top right corner. To play that card, you need to spend the exact amount and colors of mana. But how do you get mana? You get mana by playing land cards. There are 5 basic lands in Magic: Plains, Island, Swamp, Mountain, and Forest. Each one produces a different color of mana. Plains gives white mana, Island gives you blue mana, Swamp gives black mana, Mountain gives red mana, and Forest gives green mana. To use a land, you tap it. Tapping means turning the card sideways. When you tap a land, it gives you 1 mana of its color. You can only play 1 land from your hand per turn. Besides basic lands, there are also non-basic lands. These lands can have special abilities. Some give more than 1 color of mana, others have different effects when they enter the battlefield or after. But remember, non-basic lands don't count as basic lands, even if they produce the same kind of mana. Mana only stays available during your turn. If you don't use it, it disappears at the end of each phase. So to play cards, you need to 1. Play lands, 2. Tap them to get mana, and 3. Spend that mana to cast spells. Now that you understand mana, we are ready to learn how to play cards. Now let's see how to cast a spell using mana. Here's the card, Jace Arcane Strategist. To play this card, you need to pay 6 mana total, 4 colorless and 2 blue. Let's say you have these lands on the battlefield, 2 island, 1 mountain, 1 plain, 1 non-basic land called Boseiju, and another land. Here's how you pay. Tap 2 island to pay the 2 blue mana, then tap 1 mountain, 1 plain, 1 Boseiju, and the 3rd island to pay the 4 colorless mana. Colorless mana means you can use any color to pay, so it doesn't matter which lands you use as long as you get 4 mana in total. Now that you have paid the full cost, you can cast Jace and put him onto the battlefield. Easy, right? But wait, not every card stays on the battlefield after you play it. Some do, some don't. Let's learn the difference between permanents and non-permanents. Not every card you play stays on the battlefield. In Magic, there are 2 main types of spells, permanents and non-permanents. Permanents are cards that stay on the battlefield after you cast them. These include creatures, planeswalkers, artifacts, enchantments, lands, and battles. Once you cast a permanent and it resolves, it enters the battlefield and stays there until it's destroyed, exiled, or removed in some other way. Non-permanents, on the other hand, are spells that go to the graveyard right after they resolve. These include instants and sorceries. For example, if you cast a lightning bolt, you deal damage and then the card goes straight to the graveyard. It doesn't stay on the battlefield. So remember, permanents, they stay. Non-permanents, one-time effect, then gone. But what happens to a card when it leaves the battlefield? Where does it go? Let's look at different zones in the game and see what happens to each type of card. Now let's understand different zones in a Magic game. Each card moves through different zones depending on what happens in the game. Let's go step by step. First, we have the battlefield. This is where permanents stay after you cast them. Creatures, lands, enchantments, planeswalker, artifacts, and battles, they all enter the battlefield and stay there until something removes them. Each player has their own battlefield area. The opponent's battlefield is like a mirror of yours, just on the top side. But there's one exception. Battle cards always enter your opponent's battlefield when you cast them. They are the only cards that do this. You can attack them during your combat phase, especially because they are on the other side. Next, we have the graveyard. This is where used cards go, like creatures that die, spells that resolve, like instants and sorceries, discarded cards. Some cards can bring cards back from the graveyard to your hand or even directly to the battlefield, so the graveyard is not the end. Then we have the exile zone. When a card is exiled, it's removed from the game. This is usually permanent. In other words, most of the time you can't get cards back from exile unless a card effect says so. Other zones include your hand and your library. Your hand is where you keep the cards you can play. Your library is your deck. You draw cards from here. Once a spell resolves, it either goes to the battlefield if it's a permanent, or to the graveyard if it's a non-permanent. So in short, battlefield equals to where permanents stay. Graveyard equals to where destroyed or used cards go. Exile equals to removed from the game. Hand equals to your playable cards, and library equals to your deck. Understanding this zone helps you follow the game flow and card effects. Now that we know where the cards go, let's learn how a turn works in Magic, step by step. Each turn in Magic is divided into 5 main phases. Let's go through them step by step. 1. Beginning phase. You can't cast spells here. This step phase has 3 steps. Untap step, you will untap all your tapped cards. Upkeep step. Some cards say at the beginning of your upkeep do something. This is where those effects happen. Draw step. You draw 1 card from your library. You can also cast instant spells during the upkeep and draw steps. 2. First main phase. Now you can play a land, only one per turn, cast any type of spell, creatures, sorceries, enchantments, use abilities from your cards, play instant spells if needed. So as you can see, this is usually when you cast most of your cards. 3. Combat phase. Combat has several steps. Beginning of combat, players can cast instants or use abilities. Declare attackers, you choose which creatures will attack. Declare blockers, your opponent chooses which creatures will block. Combat damage, attacking and blocking creatures deal damage. And end of combat, last chance to cast instants or use abilities before combat ends. We'll go deeper into combat in the next slide. 4. Second main phase. This is just like the first main phase. You can cast more permanents and non-permanents, play a land if you haven't already, use activated abilities, and cast instant spells. This phase is useful if you wanted to attack first, then play more spells. And finally, 5. End phase. This phase has 2 steps. First end step is a chance to cast instant spells or use abilities. Then we have cleanup step. Damage is removed from creatures, and if you have more than 7 cards in hand, you must discard down to 7. No one can cast spells during the cleanup step unless something unusual happens. So a full turn in Magic goes like this: beginning, first main, combat, second main, and end. Understanding this order helps you know when you can play cards and respond to your opponent. Next, we'll go deeper into the combat phase and learn how attacking and blocking works. Now let's learn how combat works in Magic. Combat is one of the most important and strategic parts of the game. It's divided into 5 steps and each one gives players a chance to respond with spells or abilities. Let's break it down. Beginning of combat step. This is the start of the combat phase. Before declaring attackers, players can cast instant spell or use abilities. For example, you could tap a creature or give one of your creatures haste before attacking. 2. Declare attackers step. Now the active players choose which of their untapped creatures will attack. You can only attack your opponents, or a planeswalker they control, or a battle you control that's on their side of the battlefield. Tapped creatures can't attack, and you can't attack with summoning sick creatures unless they have haste. Every creature that you casted in the current turn has summoning sick. Once attackers are declared, each one becomes tapped unless it has Vigilance. After attacks are declared, players can again cast instants or use abilities. 3. Declare blockers step. Now the defending player chooses which of their untapped creatures will block the attackers. They can block with 1 or more creatures per attack if allowed, but remember, only creatures that untapped are allowed to block. Once blockers are declared, both players can again cast instants or use abilities. 4. Combat damage step. Now damage is dealt. Each attacker and blocker deals damage equal to its power at the same time. Damage can destroy creatures if it's equals to or greater than their toughness. Some keyword abilities affect damage, like First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Trample. We are going to see every ability that affects damage in the future slides. And finally, 5. End of combat step. This is the last moment in the combat phase. Players can still cast instances or use abilities, but combat is mostly done. Creatures stay tapped unless they have Vigilance, and damage remains marked until the end of turn. And that's how combat works. Understanding these steps helps you know when to attack, when to block, and how to plan your moves. Now that you know how to fight, let's talk about how a game of Magic ends and how to win. Now let's talk about how a game of Magic ends. There are many ways to win or lose, depending on the situation. Let's start with the most common ones. You win the game if your opponent's life total reaches 0. That's the most common way to win, simple and direct. You also win if your opponent tries to draw a card from an empty library. If they have no cards left to draw, game over. And sometimes a card might say you win the game. It doesn't happen often, but cards like Felidar Sovereign can do that. You lose the game if your life total reaches 0 or less. That means you haven't taken too much damage and it's game over. You also lose if you try to draw a card and your library is empty. No cards, you lose. And there's another way to lose, if you get 10 poison counters. Some cards deal poison counters in addition of normal damage, so 10 poison counters equals to you lose. And just like some cards let you win, other might say you lose the game. It's rare, but it happens. Finally, you lose if you choose to concede. That means you give up the game at any time. So now you know how to win and how to lose. But there's a lot more to Magic than just damage and life totals. Let's take a look at some cool game mechanics and make each game unique and exciting. So let's go through 10 common mechanics in Magic the Gathering. These are abilities that can give your creatures special powers. 1. Vigilance. A creature with Vigilance doesn't tap when it attacks. That means it can attack and still be ready to block on the next turn. 2. Flash. Flash lets you cast a spell anytime you could cast an instant. It's perfect for surprises, especially on your opponent's turn. 3. Haste. Creatures with haste can attack and use tap abilities on the same turn they enter the battlefield. Normally, creatures have to wait a turn before they can do that. 4. Flying. Flying creatures can only be blocked by other creatures with flying or reach. They are hard to stop if your opponent has no air defense. 5. Reach. Reach allows a creature to block flying creatures even if it doesn't fly itself. 6. Menace. A creature with Menace can't be blocked by just one creature. It takes 2 or more creatures to block it. 7. Death Touch. With Death Touch, any damage this creature deals to another creature is enough to destroy it, no matter how tough it is. 8. Trample. When a creature with Trample attacks, if it deals more damage than it needs to destroy a blocker, the extra damage goes through the target, no matter if it's a player, a planeswalker, or a battle. 9. Indestructible. Indestructible means that the creature can't be destroyed by damage or by effects that say destroy. It stays on the battlefield unless it's exiled, sacrificed, or its toughness becomes 0. And finally 10. Lifelink. When a creature with lifelink deals damage, its controller gains that much life. These abilities show up in many cards, and understanding them helps you play better and smarter. In the next slide, we will go over some final considerations about the game, where I will talk about various important rules and details you need to know to play Magic with confidence. Now that you have learned the basics, here are some quick and important rules every Magic player should know. The spells goes on the stack in reverse order. That means the last spell cast is the first one to resolve. Each player starts the game with 20 life points. If your life total reaches 0 or less, you lose the game. Your deck must have at least 60 cards. There's no maximum, but having more cards can make your deck less consistent. You can include up to 4 copies of any card with the same name. Basic lands are the exception. You can have as many as you want. If you control a legendary permanent like a creature or artifact, you can only have one with the same name on the battlefield. If another one enters, you must choose which one stays. If you are playing a best of 3 match, you can have a sideboard with up to 15 extra cards to swap between games. You can cast spells during your main phase, but you can also cast instants or use instant speed abilities in response to other actions. Creatures that just entered the battlefield can't attack or use tap abilities right away. This is called Summoning Sickness. They need to wait one turn unless they have haste. You can play only one land per turn, and remember, lands are not spells. And you can take as many mulligan as you want following the official mulligan rules. You can take a mulligan if you don't like your starting hand. Here how it works. You draw 7 cards at the start of the game. If you don't like your hand, you can shuffle it back into your deck and draw a new hand with 7 cards. But for each mulligan you take, you must choose 1 card from your new hand to put on the bottom of your library. So if you take 1 mulligan, you draw 7 cards, but you start the game with 6. If you take 2 mulligans, you keep 5, and so on. It's a way to improve your hand, but the more mulligans you take, the fewer cards you start with. And finally, the starting player doesn't draw a card on their first turn. These are simple but important rules to help you play Magic the right way. In the next part, I will show you a practical example of a match played on Magic Arena, so you can see everything we learned in action. Okay, so this is my first hand, and I usually don't ask for a mulligan when I have at least 2 lands in my first hand. As you can see here, I have 3 lands, so I will not get any mulligan here, because we have 3 mountains, and we have a lot of small cost spells to cast. So I will keep 7, and as you can see in the title, I go first, I start the game. And because I started the game, I will not draw a card this turn. Because remember, the player that starts the game in his first turn, he will not draw a card, only after the second turn. So let's begin. I can drop one land per turn, so I will drop this land here, and we can cast the Cacophonous Camp, which is a creature, so it's a permanent. I will cast it, I will pay the 1 red mana, and it will stay in the battlefield until it's removed somehow. Now it's my turn again. My opponent just dropped one land and didn't cast anything. So I will drop a mountain again, and then I will cast the Fleeting Effigy, which is a creature also. But this creature has something a little bit different. It's at the end of my end step, this creature will return to my hand. As you can see here, at the beginning of your end step, return this creature to its owner's hand. Because it has haste, it's a 2/2, and the cost is it's a small cost to pay to have a creature like this. So it has this disadvantage that I should return this creature to my hand. Also, this creature has haste, so I can attack with it at the same turn that I cast it. Different of the Cacophonous Camp that I casted the turn before, and I couldn't attack it because it had Summoning Sickness. So let's play also the Sorcerer here, and I will use on Cacophonous Camp. This Wild Ride, it gives +3/+0 to any creature that I have, my target creature in this case. And it also has Harmonize. Harmonize, it's a feature that allows you to play a card from your graveyard, paying the Harmonize cost, so you can recast it from the graveyard. Usually you just put in the physical Magic, you just get your Wild Ride and put in the graveyard so you can cast again. But here in the Magic Arena, the cards don't show here on the graveyard, only here in this area, so you can remember that you have this card in the graveyard. It's basically it, but you can put this card on the graveyard in physical Magic, and remember that you have this card there so you can cast again with Harmonize, paying the cost, which is Mountain and 4 mana of any color. So let's attack, because it's now time to attack. And we did 6 damage to our opponents, 4 here and 2 here. And this creature also has a cool ability. Every time it causes damage to the opponents, I can sacrifice it, and when I sacrifice it, I can cause the power that this creature have as damage to any target. So I will do that. I will take an action, and I will cause 4 damage to the opponent here, and this creature will come back to my hand as I explained before, because it's written in the rules of the card. So now I will cast this other creature here, and I will cast again Fleeting Effigy, and I will attack. Let's see if our opponent will block it. Yeah, both creatures will die, because both had 2 life and both caused 2 damage, so they die. Now the only thing I can do is drop a land, because I have other 2 lands in my hand. But this creature here has an ability that's called Transform this creature, and I will transform this creature. I want this creature to become a 3/3 with Trample, Ward 2, Prowess, and Prowess. So let's click here and activate ability. To activate this ability, I can pay this cost in 2 ways. The first way is paying a blue mana and 3 mana of any color, or because this payment cost here has the symbol, I can change it to that symbol, and instead of paying a blue mana, I can pay 2 life in order to activate this ability. So I will pay 2 life and 3 mana of any color, and the creature will be transformed, which means it's a creature now that is a 3/3, not anymore a 2/2, and it has Trample. As I said, the exceeding damage goes to my target. In this case, if I attack, I will cause 3 damage here, but this creature, if it's used to block, will receive 2 damage because it's just need 2 damage to destroy this creature, and the exceeding damage, the 1 damage that is left, it will be caused on my opponent. So let's attack. Oh, and it also has ward. Ward is whenever a permanent with ward becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays the ward cost. Is basically it. And prowess is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Is basically it. So let's attack. Let's see if he's going to block. He didn't block. Great. Okay. He's going to attack, okay. Now we can pay the full cost of Harmonize. I will not submit any creature to help to pay the cost, because Harmonize allows me to do that. So I will submit 0. Because with Harmonize I can use the power of a creature that I have if I tap this creature to help to pay the cost of the spell. I will not do that. So I will pay the full cost and I will choose my creature here, and this time the spell will be exiled. And it became 8/5. Why? Because it received +3 from the Wild Ride that's now exiled, received +3, and also it has 2 times prowess, and prowess, which means it received +1/+1 2 times for every spell that's a non-creature that I casted this turn. So it was a +3, +0, so it was 3/3 became 6/3, and +1/+1 2 times became 8/5. So let's attack. I'll attack, and he blocked. I will kill his creature, 8 damage and 3 life. So it will be an exceeding 5 damage because it has Trample. So I will cause 3 damage here to kill this creature, and the 5 exceeding damage will be done in my opponent. And also it will cause 3 damage to my creature, but my creature has 5 life, so it will not die. So let's go. Now it has only 2 life. Okay. No problem. I will receive 1 damage. Okay, and now I just need to cast this Bolt Wave. Bolt Wave deals 3 damage to each opponent. I have to pay just 1 mountain, and it's a sorcery, so it's go directly to my graveyard here, and I will cause 3 damage in my opponent. And my opponent only has 2 life, so he will lose the game. And that's it. He will lose the game. He is now less than 0 or less. He lost the game. And I hope you understood how the Magic rules work. And if you have any question about how the Magic rules work, just comment below here, and I will be very happy to answer you. So I hope to see in the next video.